Hello, today's episode will dive into the world of men's health. Today's episode will dive into the world of men's health. Let's start with a few bits of data. Average life expectancy for men in the UK is 78, but did you know that 1 in 5 men actually die before the age of 65? Also, 75% of those premature deaths can be attributed to heart disease. Prostate cancer is the most common cancer in men in the UK, with over 55,000 new cases each year. 12,000 men die from prostate cancer every year, but it actually has a survival rate of 8 in 10. And we already know the data around suicide. Last year in Wales alone, 386 individuals lost their life through suicide. And we know 75% of those are male. So we're going to delve a little bit deeper into these health statistics, the data, and looking at maybe reasons why these things are happening and things you can do a little bit differently to change the scene around men's health. As we said previously, 75% of all suicides are male. The most recent ONS data for Wales shows that suicide rates are increasing, and indeed increasing across the UK. There is a large stigma surrounding mental health and surrounding suicide and the man-up culture that still exists. It is being broken slowly, and there's a lot of great work being done in that area, but there's still expectations on men on how they should and shouldn't behave, the things they should and shouldn't do, but being compared to previous generations as well. But for many men, it's not necessarily that man-up culture is the issue. Lots are finding that they feel like they're not being listened to. And the Samaritans research they conducted fairly recently suggests that that's the case for a large proportion of men. In the year leading up to their suicide, a large amount of men actually did reach out to those important services a number of times, but were put on waiting lists or didn't receive the adequate support they actually needed. So people are reaching out, but they're not feeling heard, not feeling listened to. So what do men do, and where do men go in those situations? If they are reaching out, they're not feeling listened to, they're not having the appropriate support, the coping strategies then become those unhealthy ones. We know that gendered coping strategies, alcohol and drugs, are high on the list for men. So they're not getting support, they're struggling, and they look then to drugs and alcohol. They are, in their opinion, good ways to deal with the stress and the emotion and the pressure that they feel on a day-to-day basis. And yeah, in those short periods, they can forget about it, they can just get on with whatever they want to do, they aren't going to think about what's causing the issues. But we know that that just doesn't go away, hence why it is an unhealthy strategy. So now, not only have you got the pressures of life, family, commitments, work, you've got the added pressures and that dependency on drugs and alcohol. There's an added layer of problems, I suppose, in want of a better phrase. And these kind of issues and barriers and stigmas which surround mental health are the same kind of barriers that men face when it comes to their physical health as well. So if you think about the man-up culture we discussed, and men should just get on with it, not moan about it, and so on. When men start to feel maybe unwell, or there's certain ailments, or there's certain signs and symptoms, quite often they brush it under the carpet. Just go, oh, it's only this. They'll pass it off as something else, or they'll just get on with it. And they'll do that for long periods of time until it gets to the point where, for some, it is too late. It is something that maybe was missed early, or not diagnosed early, and it's got to the point where um, it can be fatal. No, not in all cases, but we do with quite a lot of things, as we think that people will mock us, or um, will be seen differently if we go to the doctors for our ailments and talk about things. And yeah, that is a big contributor to the health statistics that we face. So, like earlier we said about prostate cancer, and was it 55,000 new cases every year, 12,000 deaths from it every single year. But for a cancer that has a high survival rate, 8 in 10 men, there's that discrepancy, isn't there, between these high numbers, quite high number of deaths, but there's a high survival rate. So somewhere along the line, something doesn't add up, and for a lot would be misdiagnosis, or not going to GP earlier when you're spotting signs and symptoms and just thinking it's going to go away, just getting on with things and going, yeah, I'll be fine. And it's not the case. I know men of a certain age have routine kind of full body MOTs. You have the tests and things like that, and that's how I think my dad's bowel cancer was picked up really early. There was an anomaly in one of the scans, sent for further screenings, and it turned out that he did have bowel cancer. He's made a full recovery. He went through operations and things like that, but it was only because he was picked up early that the situation wasn't as bad as it could have been. And that could be the same for many people. They do go, they go to doctors, they have checkups. But then when you look at other men, and a large proportion don't do that, that situation is going to get a lot worse. And the chances of survival, the longer you leave it, we know, is far, far less. I recall having a conversation with someone a while back, where they had like a letter through, or something saying about making an appointment to have that kind of full body MOT, because they're of a certain age, and they didn't want to make that appointment. They didn't want to go to it because they were worried that they might find something. So they weren't going to go to that appointment purely for the fact that they were worried that something might be found, which seems counterlogical, to be honest. Yeah, I understand that it's a scary thought, thinking, oh, I might go to that appointment and they might tell me I've got this certain illness or something wrong with me. But then on the flip side of it is that, yeah, if you have got something wrong, they're going to catch it earlier. So I think trying to have that kind of logical thought process and logical discussion around it, and again, it comes to talking to people and sharing the fact that, yeah, I've got this appointment coming up. I am kind of shitting myself about it because of this, and just trying to kind of process it in that way, because other people always have a different perspective, and they may be able to give a perspective that makes you think, oh yeah, actually, I really do need to do this. So I think that goes for a lot of cases, whether that be physical health or your mental health. Like I said, people are doing it a lot more, talking about it a lot more. It's now whether people are being listened to and getting the right support and the right support from different services they need. I think kind of another issue or barrier for me is the UK lifestyle, and the lifestyle that I don't think is conducive to being healthy. I know it sounds stupid, but you've got, if you think about your lifestyle and that kind of work-life balance, which that's another discussion to have. But generally in the UK, you work long hours, really long hours. Some have really short breaks. Diets are poor. Either you take food to work which maybe isn't as nutritious, or we're coming home from work, we're shattered, and we're getting a lot of takeaways, and eating kind of unhealthily. We're eating at bad times as well. When you look at times of the day that you're eating and things like that, maybe that you skip breakfast, and then you eat something later in the morning, which could be high in sugar, which obviously isn't great for you. But then you may be eating your dinner later on at night as well. So when you think about the body and being its optimum and the digestive system and that kind of thing, eating big meals before bed, we know isn't the healthiest for us either. So kind of our culture and our lifestyle is in the UK isn't actually conducive to being healthy, because we do need convenience. We need quick wins and quick food and fast food, purely because we're always on that treadmill. There's always from one thing to another, and we don't have that chance to slow down. I think generations now that are coming through school and kind of late teens, early 20s are seeing that more now, and especially that there's been a shift since COVID, is people looking after themselves more. There is more of a culture of health and exercise and eating food which is more nutritious and better for you. So there is that coming through, but the generations before that, I think, are seeing the implications more so now. The fact that our average life expectancy has reduced. We're seeing increases in mental health problems, increase in suicide. There's a lot going on in our lives that is putting stress on us, that is adding to our daily lives, that isn't healthy for us. And it's all starting to take its toll, I think. So what do you do for your overall health? Do you think about the kind of things you eat? Do you get regular exercise, whether that be going for a walk on a regular basis, or starting slowly with 10 minutes exercise per day? Do you get enough sleep? Sleep is hugely important to the body and so many different processes within the body. And do you go to the doctor to get a checkup as early as you can? I think a lot of men find the issue, or another issue, or another barrier with seeing a GP, is inconvenient opening times as well. I think sometimes it can be an absolute nightmare to get an appointment at the doctor, can't it? You phone up at 8 o'clock to get one of those kind of extra spaces, and you're in a queue, or you've got to go at a certain time when you're in work and it's difficult to get out. So I think healthcare can be a bit more male friendly. I'm not saying that obviously women don't have these issues, but we are talking men specifically on this episode. So I think health services can be a bit more male friendly to make it more appealing. Not sure it's the right word. For men to go and get checked out, to go and have those conversations and things like that. Something that struck me about growing up and being in school is the lack of education around your overall health as well. I think from what I remember from what being a teacher as well, is you'd always do kind of healthy eating, and how that is important for you, and obviously the exercise aspect. But in terms of general health, and I think importance of talking about your health, and I suppose signs and symptoms are getting checked early. I think that could be certainly done a lot more within school, because so many of us are lacking that health education, and I suppose that health literacy as well. We talk about being able to talk about your problems and mental health and things, but some of us haven't got the ability to do that. We haven't got the right words, and it's the same for our physical health as well. I think we do lack that knowledge, understanding, and being able to verbalize what we're experiencing, how we are feeling, and what we actually need. People quite often ask, how can I help you? You know you need help, but you just don't know how you need it. And I think our education plays a huge part in that as well. Just having that ability to articulate what you're experiencing and how you're feeling is absolutely massive, because if we haven't got the words, we can't do it. However much we want to, if we haven't got the right words, we won't be able to. So I think school and education can have a big impact, and I think that needs to be something that is integrated more into school life, and looking at our health and the health of the population, because things aren't great at the moment with regards to that. So what can we do? Well, just like with mental health, we're trying to normalize those conversations around mental health and how we're feeling and the likes. Let's just normalize conversations around health. We've got campaigns to into testicular cancer and checking your nuts. We know that everyone has certain tests like prostate examinations and the likes, and we all go through the same things, and we all, if we haven't yet, we will do. So yeah, let's just make it more of a normal conversation about how are you doing, and answering a bit more honestly when someone asks how you are. There's so much going on in people's lives. We know that, and we say a lot with mental health, but your physical health is exactly the same. Looking after yourself, prioritizing you, prioritizing your health, intervening early, talking to someone if you're feeling a little bit worried about a certain something you're going on. If you haven't got anyone who you can talk to, you have to go and speak to a GP. You have to go and get checked out. Yeah, it is scary. Thinking that you're going to be told that there's something seriously wrong is a worrying thought, absolutely. But when you think worst case scenario, and what could happen if you don't get checked out and you don't get told, then that's far, far worse than being told and hopefully catching it a little bit earlier. So I think we do need to normalize the conversations. We do need to look at what we can do to help ourselves and to be as healthy as we possibly can. But I do think it's going to take a big cultural shift as well. I think that shift has been happening since COVID, as I've mentioned, with people thinking, working such long hours and doing that side of things for little to no extra money or reward. Is that kind of worth it? Is that something that we could and should be doing? Yeah. Moving forward, I think, guys, honesty. Check those nuts. Get those GP appointments. Talk to your mates. And yeah, look after yourselves.